Hello. Hello.
Hello,
Yeah,
Dr. Anwar Sanusi.
I'm Anwar Sanusi.
Thank you very much. This is from GRIPS Forum.
Hi.
Yes, we are very happy. This is Izumi Ono from the GRIPS side. We are very happy to have you. Very honored, and because that we have some kind of coordination issues of the how to welcome you to the this link. So we will be directly starting soon without our initial kind of the pre-session. So I hope that will be fine with you.
I'm waiting for your instructions. So, but I'm so sorry because I just trouble. But now it's hopefully everything is all right. Thank you very much, Sensei.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much.
Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Katerina Pechko, and today I have the honor of being the Master of Ceremonies for the second GRIPS SDGs Award Ceremony, a truly noteworthy event. In this time of abrupt economic and social change, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are more important than ever. We at GRIPS have been contributing significantly to the achievement of the SDGs in a number of ways, including the annual presentation of the GRIPS SDGs Award. The winner of the award this year is GRIPS graduate, Mr. Anwar Sanusi. Mr. Sanusi is joining us online today from Indonesia, and later he will speak to us about his award-winning project. At this time, I would like to invite GRIPS President Akihiko Tanaka to give the congratulatory address. President Tanaka, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second GRIPS SDGs Award ceremony. It is my honor and privilege to confer the second GRIPS SDGs Award to Dr. Anwar Sanusi for his leadership and management role in designing and implementing major projects of the Indonesian government for village development and poverty eradication. I would like to congratulate him on his achievements in the project entitled Localizing the 2030 SDGs by Accelerating Rural Development. Since the General Assembly of the United Nations adopted the document Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in September 2015, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, have become a common and joint framework of the global community to achieve a better and more sustainable future. In 2017, GRIPS explicitly put the SDGs on the agenda of its research, education, and management. But substantively speaking, research and education at GRIPS from the time of the GSPS at Saitama University have long focused on achieving what the SDGs now point to. Our alumni, in other words, have been equipped with capacity to tackle many targets of the SDGs in their respective work. So we think that our alumni must be the valuable sources of knowledge and experience to achieve the SDGs. They must be designing and implementing innovative projects on the ground to realize many of the 169 targets of the SDGs. That is the reason why we decided to launch the GRIPS SDGs Award contest in 2019. We wanted to honor good work of our alumni, but we also wanted to learn from their work. The first award was conferred to Mr. Mohammad Sajjad Mughal for his work to design and implement a project to enhance the dairy sector in Pakistan. Last year's award ceremony was a great occasion for us to learn from his insights and activities. To our delight, in response to a call for the entries to the second GRIPS SDGs Award, we received well over 20 excellent entries from all over the world. The selection committee, composed of our faculty members, first shortlisted 4 entries. After rigorous examination and discussion by the vice presidents and myself, we decided this year's award should go to Dr. Anwar Sanusi. The selection committee highly evaluated Dr. Sanusi's leadership role in incorporating the SDGs into the work of the newly established Ministry of Villages, Development of Disadvantaged Region and Transmigration as its Secretary General, and creatively localized SDGs so that they would enhance the work of the ministry as well as improve the reality on the ground. In addition to prioritizing SDGs and devising locally relevant indicators, Dr. Sanusi led efforts to bring about and skillfully manage administrative schemes to realize these locally relevant targets. That is Dana Desa, Village Fund, and Padat Karya Tunai Desa, Village Cash for Work. The selection committee was also impressed by Dr. Sanusi's role in cultivating good and constructive relationships with many stakeholders, including the UNDP, IFAD, World Bank, and ASEAN. For all these reasons, we are really privileged to confer the second GRIPS SDGs Award to Dr. Anwar Sanusi. We at GRIPS are extremely proud to have a great alumnus like him in a leadership position in one of the G20 countries, Indonesia. But I would also like to express our great appreciation to all the staff members of the Ministry of Village and people in the rural Indonesia for their joint efforts to realize village SDGs. As I said, we would like to honor Dr. Sanusi for his work, but we are really honored to have this opportunity to learn from his innovative work to explore ways to achieve the SDGs locally relevant. Dr. Sanusi, congratulations, and thank you in advance for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, President Tanaka. And here are the certificate and trophy that we will be sending to Mr. Sanusi. Again, congratulations from all of us at GRIPS. We will now have the privilege of being addressed by our guest of honor, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Tetsuo Kondo, Director of the UNDP Representative Office in Tokyo. Before becoming UNDP representative, Mr. Kondo had held various high-profile positions with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan and the United Nations. He worked as a senior UN staff in a number of post-conflict countries, protecting civilians exposed to armed conflicts and preventing human rights abuses. In cooperation with government leaders and humanitarian and development assistance partners, Mr. Kondo helped stabilize the situation in conflict zones and achieve peace and sustainable reconstruction. Ever since the adoption of Agenda 2030 and the SDGs, Mr. Kondo has been contributing to raising awareness about the SDGs in Japan. His work with GRIPS President Akihiko Tanaka on the Prime Minister's SDGs Promotion Roundtable has borne fruit. Today, many Japanese are well informed about the SDGs and ways of integrating them into business and daily life. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Kondo.
Thank you very much, Professor Pechiko, for introducing me. Professor Tanaka, and guests and colleagues, thank you very much for your invite to this great ceremony of awarding the SDGs award to Dr. Anwar in Indonesia. On behalf of UNDP, this is really a privilege to join this discussion and ceremony because as Professor Pechiko just introduced, the world is really facing the biggest challenges everywhere. And please just let me introduce myself and UNDP itself. So we are working in 170 countries all over the world globally, including Indonesia and other program countries, partners. And then we are facing day by day the challenges of climate change and then inequalities and the poverties and the natural disaster and then sometimes armed conflict, where the human rights and then gender equality is facing the huge danger of abuse. And we are collaborating with government leaders with goodwill to give a better life to the people. So that is the United Nations' major role, peace, development, and human rights. UNDP works on that front. Today, as Professor just introduced, we are pursuing the path to achieve the SDGs. We have 9 years to go to achieve all 17 goals. How do you see where we stand now? What kind of world we will be living in 2030? Do you see climate change, poverty, inequality, and the current global issues will be addressed and then achieve a sustainable society and planet properly? How is the still unstoppable COVID-19 pandemic changing our lives and our future? We should rethink where we stand and where we are heading to. A tiny virus has been threatening the human race and reversed the decades of development. We lost literally 9 years of progress in human development in 1 year. Yet COVID-19 is only a part of a biggest but a lesser known story marked by human beings, the dominant force shaping the planet. Societies call this emerging era the Anthropocene, the age of humans. You see, the expanding the human activities into the so far untouched areas will open the breakout of this pandemic to the living human beings. Today, humans literally have the power to alter the atmosphere and the biosphere in which we live, the power to destroy and the power to repair. No species have ever had this kind of power to the planet before. With it, we human beings have achieved incredible things, but we have also taken the earth and all the people onto its brink. Hunger is one rise. After decades of progress, people affected by hunger increased 60 million people over 5 years until 2019, according to FAO. The number of disasters linked to the natural hazard has increased 75% over the last 20 years. Cumulatively, these disasters have affected more than 4 billion people, claiming 1.23 million lives, and causing close to $3 trillion US dollars in economic loss. Almost 70% of the world wildlife is now may have been lost in the past 50 years. Inequalities and between and within countries not only reflect unequal consequences of dangerous planetary change. Gross imbalances of power and opportunities also the major obstacle in the way of finding solutions. According to UNDP's Human Development Report 2020, which we published recently under the theme of the next frontier, human Anthropocene, human development and Anthropocene. It says by 2100, the poorest countries in the world could experience up to 100 more days of extreme weather each year as a result of climate change. These could be 1 billion poor people in the world by 2030, a quarter due to COVID-19, or we could choose to do things differently. Driving progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, with ambitious policy options and social protection. We must act quickly and boldly. We need nothing short of a great transformation in the way we live, work, and cooperate, help chart a course of the next frontier of human progress. So in such situation, GRIPS, the National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies, you have set this award. This action can be a beacon and a light for the global society. Global network of GRIPS alumni has a great potential to create a difference and then changes of the course of human being, local to global. We need more science in decision making. We should think that the GRIPS SDGs Award can demonstrate the power of the science and human future. We look forward to seeing further development of the network and keep showing the other part of the world about the power of education, research, and management of global sustainable development, thanks to GRIPS. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kondo. And now, Mr. Sanusi, the winner of this year's GRIPS SDGs Award, will give a talk about his award-winning project. Mr. Sanusi's accomplished career as a civil servant in Indonesia dates back to 1994. He's currently Secretary General of the Ministry of Manpower. And prior to that appointment, he was Secretary General of the Ministry of Villages, Disadvantaged Regions, and Transmigration, implementing President Joko Widodo's vision of developing Indonesia from the periphery by strengthening regions and villages. As Secretary General of this ministry, Mr. Sanusi played a central role in a project aimed at fostering rural development in his country, called Localizing the 2030 SDGs by Accelerating Rural Development. This project has contributed to the achievement of the Rural Development Index, an index that is aligned with the SDGs 2030. For his accomplishments in that project, Mr. Sanusi has been designated for this year's award. The title of Mr. Sanusi's talk is Localizing the 2030 SDGs by Accelerating Rural Development. Mr. Sanusi, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Pechko. Your Excellency, Professor Akihiko Tanaka, the President of National Graduate Institute of Policy Studies, CRIPS, Your Excellency, Mr. Tetsuo Kondo, UNDP Representation Office in Tokyo, distinguished Professor Tatsuo Oyama, distinguished Professor of CRIPS, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Greetings and best wishes from Indonesia. I hope you all are in good health, especially during these troubling times of the global pandemics. I'm earnestly grateful for the recognition I have received for this work, because I'm very sure that every other nominee for this award was capable, if not more, of winning this award. Winning this award would not have been possible without the guidance and inspiration I have received from my honors professor and senior at CRIPS, as well as my colleagues during my professional career in the Ministry of Village Development of Disadvantaged Region and Transmigration and the Ministry of Manpower, Republic of Indonesia, for whom I have the deepest respect and from whom I have derived the strength to challenge myself and perform better at each stage. I sincerely thank each one of you, Professor Kiyotake Yokomichi, Professor Takada, and of course my beloved family, my wife, Dr. Istiqomah, and my 3 sons, and my mother, Ibu Muhasona Iskandar, for the knowledge, wisdom, and support. Having been a student of CRIPS, I would also like to make a special mention to my respected Professor Tatsuo Oyama, PhD, who has been my mentor throughout my stay here. Everyone needs such a mentor in life, and I'm lucky to have found mine. For that, I thank you, sir. Last but not the least, thank you to CRIPS for offering recognition to ordinary civil servant like me. I hope this recognition can serve as an inspiration to other civil servants. Remember, if our works can make a difference, so can yours. In this wonderful occasion, allow me to briefly present you the project that has brought me the awards, the Village SDGs, or in Indonesian words, SDGs Desa. SDGs Desa is a total development of the village. All aspects of development initiated by the United Nations since its establishment until now are implemented, where all villages must be the beneficiaries, no one is left behind, and progress should and will not stop, but will continue for generations to come, equipped with the specific goal of the 18 village SDGs, dynamic village institution, and adaptive village culture. Before I move forward on the SDGs Desa, allow me to inform you that the context of Indonesia to help highlighting the massive complexity and challenge of this program. Indonesia is the world's largest island country and the 14th largest country by land area. At almost 2 million square kilometers, with more than 270 million people, Indonesia is the world's 4th most populous country. Java is the world's most populous island. It's home to more than half of the country's population. Indonesia is also an ethnically diverse country with around 1,300 distinct native ethnic groups spread across more than 17,000 islands. Since it was deliberated, Indonesia has been committed to successfully implement for sustainable development goals by achieving the 2030 development agenda. Just 2 years after Indonesia signed the SDGs declaration in 2015, President Joko Widodo signed presidential regulation, or in Indonesian words, we call it as Peraturan Presiden, Perpres number 59 of 2017 concerning the implementation of achieving sustainable development goals. This regulation contains 17 SDGs, regulates the role of each ministry agency, as well as the role and involvement of non-government stakeholders, such as civil society groups, academicians, philanthropists, and business actors in achieving SDGs. In addition, the presidential regulation contains at least 3 important mandates to be followed up by central and regional government. First, the preparation of the national roadmap for SDGs as a planned document that contains strategic policy for the stage of achieving the national development goals from 2016 to 2030 in accordance with national development target. Second, the preparation of the National Action Plan for SDGs, which is a document that contains program and activities of a 5-year work plan for the implementation of various activities, which is directly and indirectly support the achievement of SDGs in accordance with national development target. Third, the preparation of the Regional Action Plan for Sustainable Development Goals as a 5-year work plan document for the implementation of activities which directly and indirectly support the achievement of the SDGs in accordance with regional development target. The SDGs roadmap defines issue and projection of main SDGs indicator in each goal, including its forward-looking policy to achieve such targets. One this policy is the Village SDGs or SDGs Desa, which will be an important tool to guide all rural relevant stakeholders on the direction and target of the Indonesia 2030 agenda by localizing the SDGs into development model that work its way on the achievement the village SDGs that will significantly contribute the national and global SDGs. In the national context, the SDGs with a global scope were ratified in Indonesia as a national sustainable development goal. Furthermore, the policy contains in the presidential regulation requirements streaming action in all government policies and programs as well as other stakeholders, starting from the national level to the village level. Currently, the SDGs have been integrated into national development agenda. Then many regions, especially at the provincial level and some at the district or city level, have followed up by integrating the SDGs into regional development agenda. This led to the question on the rural level over the past 7 years. Since the enactment of the law number 6 year 2014 on villages, rural development in Indonesia has undergone a revolutionary paradigm shift. Village or rural area is not merely being the object of the development process, but it has now becoming the designer and executor of its own development. The whole thing's made possible by the Village Fund, a massive fiscal transfer program directly to the village to enable them developing their village according to their deliberation and potential. Total village fund that has been dispersed throughout 2015 till 2020 is amounted to more than 300 trillion rupiah. This distribution is in line with the increasing utilization of the fund. Throughout 2015 to 2020, village funds have been used to build infrastructure to support community economic activities. This includes village roads, bridges, and village market. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned before, Indonesia is committed to implement 2030 SDGs, and we can see that from 2016 to 2020, during this period, in terms of increase, the growth was quite significant. 11 points improvement in terms of increasing point that could be achieved. However, in terms of the world's ranking, the relation has not always been on par condition. When the SDGs were first implemented, we ranked on 98 and then dropping to 100 the next year, increasing slightly to 99 in the following years, and now in 101st. It is safe to say that the increase in point achievement is not directly correlated with the increase in world ranking compared to other countries. Or in other words, other countries experience greater acceleration than Indonesia, and more effort are required to improve this, one of which is by localizing the SDGs to the village level. The idea of the localized SDGs to the village level is actually in accordance with the direction of President Joko Widodo in 2019. This is the second term of his presidency. First was the village fund benefit must be filled by all communities in the village, especially the lowest society. The impact of village development must be felt by more through focused village development approach. Therefore, we compose the village SDGs at the village level as a holistic village development approach, which will ensure that all benefit from each development aspect be felt by everyone, meaning that no one left behind from village development. The principle of no one left behind in the SDGs refers to the obligation of state to ensure that none of its citizens are left behind, forgotten, or marginalized from their rights in development. In addition, the village SDGs have the opportunity to contribute 74% to achievement of national SDGs. In other words, if village development is focused on effort to support the achievement of the SDGs, it can be concluded that 74% of SDGs goals will be achieved and contributed by the village. This calculation is based on territorial and civic aspect. From the territorial aspect, 91% of Indonesia territory is a village area, while as many as 11 SDGs, goals number 7 to number 17 are closely related to the village areas. In terms of civics, 43% of Indonesia population lives in rural areas, and as many as 6 SDGs, goals number 1 to number 6 are closely related to the villages. Distinguished audience, both the global and national SDGs consist of 17 goals with almost identical naming and iconing of the goals. However, in localizing them to the village level, we realized that we would need a different approach. Localizing of SDGs as a village SDGs covers all aspects of localization that have been carried out. All goals in the SDGs that have been Indonesianized is SDGs are then localized to the village level into the village SDGs. The use of language is very, very important. It must be simple, refer to the statement of purpose, and be rational to fulfill diction that was deliberately chosen to emphasize the goal to be achieved by the village SDGs and which village could achieve through development. Instead of ending all form of poverty or eliminating poverty, the correct diction is chosen, a village without poverty. This diction is easier for the village to accept because it directly refers to village level development. This diction also refers to a statement of purpose, not a process as indicated by the use of active verbs. As participatory methods place a great importance on pictures because they can show more clearly the knowledge and need of villagers. The SDGs icon are also localized into village SDGs. For this reason, the image have been rearranged to be clearer, less abstract, and closer to the reality of Indonesian village. For example, SDGs number 2, zero hunger, which was Indonesianized as an end to hunger. In the village SDGs were compiled in the diction of village without hunger. Instead of using the hot sauce of bowl icon, or maybe in Japan it look like is bowl of soba, or maybe bowl of udon. But in the village of Indonesia uses the rice basket icon, which is more common in village in Indonesia. Not actually, it's not in the villages, but also in all Indonesian people. Other philosophical adaptation, it can also be seen in the village SDG number 1, village without poverty. The diction is chosen is over no poverty or ending poverty. The saving icon shows the uniqueness of the villages to end poverty by starting saving, even though it is saved at home instead of bank. And other example is the village SDGs number 4, quality of education. Diction is chosen over quality education. The icon of reading villagers, which is symbolized by a resident with a traditional farmer hat, refers to lifelong education through continuous reading of the latest information. Besides distinguishment of the diction and icon of the goals, another significant difference is the introduction of the village SDGs number 18, that we call dynamic village institution and adaptive village culture. We realized village institutions are very vital component to encourage sustainable development. Therefore, the existence of village institutions must be strengthened so that they can support the achievement of SDGs. The village SDGs also strive to maintain local wisdom, always as well as revitalize and mobilize all element institutions at the village level. Because the involvement of all village elements, the strong functioning of village institution in the people lives will support the life of diversity in a dynamic village, as well as drive the achievement of the village SDGs. Ladies and gentlemen, SDGs can be seen as the current global development governance by integrating global development according to the goal set. Indeed, there are weaknesses in the legality of the SDGs, as the implementation is more voluntary for United Nations members, does not have strict institutions with various localization. However, at the same time, its strength appears that the uniformity of measuring the achievement of global development goals. Then the comparison of the achievement of each country is compared to form a ranking between countries. No countries want to be the back position. So the race to the top rank while improving life within the country itself. In measuring the achievement of the village SDGs, we put emphasis on what we call as quote-unquote academic controls, which were involved in the checking the framework, concept, operational definition, and instrument, as well as testing the internal validity of the instrument. They will also be involved in measuring and the indicators, while the global SDGs has 196 indicators, and national SDGs 241 indicators. The village indicators contain 222 indicators, with 210 of them are global and or national goals, and plus 12 are for the specific of village SDGs. Then a field of instrument test were carried out, which was held in November 2020 in Sumberagung Village, Perak District, and Bawangan Village in Plus and East Java. The number questionnaire tested were 2 villages questionnaire is about 18 neighborhood. Neighborhood in Indonesian terms, we call it is rukun tetangga. In Japanese word, maybe it's look like it's tonarigumi. 77 families questionnaires and 216 individual questionnaires. There are only 2 villages questionnaires. All questionnaires can be answered by village official. For village in Central Java and East Java were then selected to be the pilot studies of the village SDGs starting in 2021. The concentration carried out in the 4 pilot studies village was in the form of a census for entire population, families, and neighborhood association. Then from the census, the result will appear in the form of village profiles, population profile, citizen problem, regional problem, as well as recommendation regarding individual, family, regional level problem, the level of achievement of the village, and the rates of fulfillment of the village SDGs target. In November 2020, a series tests were carried out using an application. We introduced such application in order to run this research. This we can see the result from the process consisting reliability, validity, statistic, and the conclusion is ready to measure village, neighborhood, family questionnaire, individual questionnaires. We have been piloting since December for some sampling in almost 74,000 villages. One village, for example, is a Kretek village. This village is located on East Java, and that's almost 60 million yen with a total, they receive, it's almost 60 million yen with total population is about 1,279 people. The dependency ratio is 25. The annual per capita income is 46,000 yen. And the number of working age people is 539 people with an income per family is about 12,407,101 rupiah per year. There's a comparison of cases in Bondowoso. Bondowoso is a district of the Kretek, which is a regency, and Kretek poverty rate is 71%. Secondary education level is 67%. Female school is 55%. Open unemployment is 31%. Meanwhile, for Bondowoso, the poverty is 14%, the female school level is 45%, and the open employment rate is 4%. It can be concluded that the Kretek village still meet the SDGs goal is 49. So the analysis result from the pilot in Kretek village, so with the poverty line at the level of Indonesian rupiah is 408,353 rupiah per capita per month. The poverty rate in the Kretek village is 664 people out of 1,279 villages, or 71%. So the conclusion, so we can see the all information, we can see what actually recommendation that we have to we can give in order for these villages can fulfill for the SDGs. The conclusion is an overview of a method that can be used to intervene directly what can be done to achieve specific goals in the SDGs. First, real data will be formed in the intervention and provide an interview of targeted intervention and the intervene in problem related to the SDGs. Secondly, we can comparing one village to another should look like a pairwise comparison. And this kind of sampling agenda in the future will be applied to all villages in Indonesia. Last but not least, if this concept can be completed, we can achieve a 74% contribution to the success of the village SDGs because it is immediately beneficial. The purpose of collecting village SDGs data is to implement data-based development, village development, and community empowerment. Data processing and analysis is carried out electronically by Village Information System developed by the Ministry of Village Development of Disadvantaged Region and Transmigration. The result of processing and data on village SDGs can be seen as by the village government in detail, and the recap can be seen by the regional government at the district, regency, or city and provincial level, as well as the community in the government in general. Further processing in the village information system produce recommendation for improving village development and community empowerment in order to achieve the goals in the village SDGs. The more detailed result of the analysis from the pilot in Kretek village, as you can see in the presentation, which I will happily share later, but allow me to move on the next agenda, village SDGs data collection. We realize the importance of the complete and valid set data and precisely measuring the attainment of each indicator in every village. The massive data collection for the starting point of the village SDGs has been undergone in 2021. In implementation in all villages is ensured through the regulation of the Ministry of Village number 13, year 2020, concerning the priority use of the village funding in 2021. All village fund expenditure must be used to implement the village SDGs. Institutional coordination down to the village was strengthened through the training of for 35,000 village facilitators. Village heads and residents themselves were facilitated to communicate, discuss, and even debate directly with relevant ministry. In order to strengthen measurement that continue to highlight local wisdom and village innovation, the village information system is practically rerunning from January 2020. Its content are in the form of annual detailed data intake about condition at the village level, neighborhood, and family level. Validation and verification were carried out directly in each village and sub-district so that data could be directly checked in the field. All data must be completed in the first semester because it is directly used as a measure of the amount village fund for the following years, as well as a source of information for the village development planning. Recommendation for each village appear automatically from the village information system processing, and they must be met before moving on the other development item. It is this well thought out village SDGs plan that has convinced Indonesia to speed up once the global COVID-19 pandemic began to be resolved in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest lesson of the global COVID-19 pandemic is the Great Reset. The dormancy of almost all economic, social, and political activities open time for reflection. Only those who have prepared themselves later post-pandemic will run faster than others. Modernization has linked it to the positive role of developed countries to developing countries. However, when it was discovered that the surplus of poor countries was actually being absorbed by development countries through this aid pattern in the 1960s, the concept of dependency blossomed. Both this development paradigm, spring analysis, the state unit, when reduced to regional development, the available measures only reach the provincial and district level. For example, the gross regional development product, based solely on grand narrative, eliminates the historical local context. As a result, it is able to uproot the village from its social and cultural roots. Because it's prioritized the consensus process, this approach neglects the construct to a substance of development. It can distance the village from the statistical facts of local problem. If the deliberation decide to build road, then it becomes the substance of local development. The consensus also marginalizes the substance of drinking water development, which is commonly proposed by women. This weakness has been overcome by the village SDGs, which is localized the global SDGs to the remote village. The localization of the village SDGs also adjusts the following objective terms and their icons so that are more concrete, simple, and imagined to be achieved. The village SDGs successfully cover the goals from the village without poverty, village without hunger, healthy and prosperous village, quality village education, involvement of village women, village with the clear water and sanitation, clean and renewable energy village, equitable village, economic growth village infrastructure and innovation as needed, village without disparity, safe and comfortable village settlement, consumable and production and environmentally aware village, climate change responsive village, village marine environment aware village, lands environments aware village, peaceful justice village, partnership for village development and dynamic village institution, and adaptive village culture as a reflection of preserving the history, culture, and original institution of village in Indonesia. In this way, the grand narrative of development is brought down to the context of the Semai village. The program has also received support from various institutions, both national and global. At the national level, the village SDGs has been inserted in the 2020-2024 National Medium Terms in Development Plan and the strategic plan of the Ministry of Village, while the global support has come from UNDP, World Bank, ASEAN, and IFAD. Honorable professors, ladies and gentlemen, SDGs targets are in line with Indonesian government policy priorities, namely realizing inclusive and sustainable development. Even though the achievement of the SDG is affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, Indonesia remains committed to achieving by orchestrating the synergy of knowledge from the various stakeholders, including scientists, academics, and practitioners. Indonesia has entered the end of the 5 years of implementing Presidential Regulation number 15, year 2017, concerning implementation and the achievement of national SDGs, which one of our commitment to implementing SDGs until 2030. Indonesia has coordinated various implementation of the SDGs, contributed actively, both national, regional, national level, or in international. This coordination's effort also involve element of government and non-government. The implementation of the SDGs is manifested in various activities such as mainstreaming SDGs in the national medium-term development and various development planning document, as well as preparing national action plan for SDGs 2020 to 2024, which will be launched in early 2021. Furthermore, Indonesia government also continues its efforts in compiling the metadata of Indonesian SDGs indicators edition 2nd, compiling a report on achievement of SDGs for 2019 and coordinating with the development partner to facilitate preparation of the SDGs Regional Action Plan. Indonesian government also encouraged the initiation of the establishment of 20 SDG centers at several universities throughout Indonesia and coordinate the preparation of the voluntary national review on each LPF 2017, 2019, and 2021. I myself will continue my effort to ensure the attainment of the village SDGs and look forward to contribute more in my capacity in making Indonesia Village a better place for many years to come. I am humble and appreciative for this recognition and award. This award goes also all the villages in Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanusi, for this very inspiring talk. And now I would like to invite Professor Oyama to make a few comments. Professor Oyama is Professor Emeritus of CRIPS and Mr. Sanusi's former advisor and mentor. Professor Oyama, please.
Yes, this is Professor Oyama. Amaru-san, do you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
Sensei.
okay.
Hi. No, thank you very much, Sensei.
Oh, you're welcome. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for your very interesting talk. Because most Japanese people are not so much familiar with the Indonesian situation, I mean the current situation, especially about the village issues. So in that sense, I think your talk was very important, very interesting for us. So thank you very much again. And also, I'd like to say congratulations for your getting awarded GRIPS SDG award. So I feel very happy about that. So in that sense, I think, of course, you have been working very actively as the government officials in many or various ministries. So in that sense, it should be very natural. You are given the SDG award from GRIPS. Now, let's get back to 20 years ago. So that was the time you were a student at GRIPS, or maybe Saitama or whatever. And I was a professor at that time. Even now I'm a professor, but still. So we were professor and student at that time. You did work PhD dissertation under my Oyama sensei's instruction. So after you finishing your PhD work over there, we are very good friends, I should say. We have been friends more than 20 years. So in that sense, we have been keeping in touch very frequently, very actively, very positively. So in that sense, I thank you very much for that. I'm very happy about that. Now, about the 20 years ago, I know you were interested in higher education policy at that time. You may not remember your research topic because that's a long time ago. I remember it, okay?
Yes, Sensei, I still remember, Sensei.
Okay, you do remember it. Now, I remember you did write two papers. One was about the public policy related education programs evaluation, how to evaluate public policy program in most, I should say, in all Japanese universities. You wanted to evaluate quantitatively Japanese public policy related schools, teaching and research instruction systems. So that paper was accepted as, I should say, outstanding or distinguished student paper at the conference between Japan and Korea. That's the school, I mean, the student, graduate student paper competition. So I'd like to, you may not remember it, but that was a very interesting paper. More important thing is your PhD research. That was about the, of course, higher education. Now, topic was Japanese government subsidy system to private universities in Japan. So you wanted to evaluate, in some sense, evaluation should be the main interest for you. Japanese private universities subsidy system, how they depend on the subsidy system or how the institution allocate, distribute government subsidy to all more than, I think, 800 private universities in Japan. So that was what you got interested in. So you did write a very interesting, very nice paper, and we did submit to one British, very prestigious journal, Journal of Higher Education. So that paper was accepted, and even now I do receive some comment or some emails from some people who are interested in education policy. In that sense, you did a very good job, even though you had a very hard time to work for PhD. That's true for everybody. I think no
Yes,
one can
Sensei.
finish everybody, I mean, a PhD so easily. So in that sense, I think it's not only yourself, everybody has a very, I believe you had a very good time because in Saitama or in Japan, in Tokyo. You are very kind to everybody. You are very popular among students. You are very friendly all the time. I'm not exaggerating, okay? That's truth. So in that sense, I think you should have enjoyed your life in Tokyo or in Japan. That may be the reason we have been keeping in touch for a long time and visiting each other, even though very recently we cannot do it due to COVID-19. But still, in the near future, I hope we can meet again as regularly once or twice a year or so. Now, again, let's get back to your SDG talk today. So what I was thinking was I wanted to know maybe 2 points. One was about your research interest with higher education. So higher education and primary education or elementary education or compulsory education, those are both are important, necessary. Of course, everybody should agree to that. But I think when you do think about the policy aspect or policy choice or policy selection or policy decision making, you have to think about which one should go first, how we should give policy priority and that kind of thing. So in that sense, I'm interested in how Indonesian general citizens, government officials, politicians, academicians, those different people, I mean, in a different position, how they think about those very important issues, have got higher education and compulsory or primary education. Because we know higher university graduates are very selected people in your country. And you did work a lot for your research, but in the practical sense, in the actual problem, I'm interested in how your country is considering that kind of very important issue, because that issue is very important from the viewpoint of human resource development. So when you do think about the human resource development, both are important, but still you have to make choice. So that kind of question I'm interested in. So if you have some idea, I want to know that. That was one first point. The second point, that's the last one. That is about the school attainment or education attainment. So that should be different by income level or by geographic location or residence where they live in the rural area or urban area or some kind of social condition, their family matters or their jobs or their employment. That kind of very complicated factors should exist. But still, when you do think about the education attainment from the viewpoint of human resource development, I think that should be also a very important problem. So in that sense, of course, that problem is not only education policy, but also it should include a lot of important other policy issues like science, technology, innovation policy, or economic development policy, or some, of course, human resource development policy. So considering those different kind of or several important factors, how you look at your future about the school attainment or education attainment. That is what I wanted to ask you. Again, I want to say thank you very much for your talk, and we should be keeping in touch in the future also. I hope after COVID-19 was solved. We hope, because every time you come to Tokyo, you visit my office. So I thank you very much. So thank you again for your very nice talk.
Thank you very much, Sensei.
Yes.
Sure. I
Okay.
will, as after finish COVID-19 is finished, I'm going to Japan, Sensei.
Yes, because we are friends, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Petiko-san, I finished it. Thank you.
And now I would like to invite questions from the audience. The first question is from Mr. Renosa Tosca-Zamaru, who is a GRIPS student from Indonesia. Mr. Zamaru, go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Anwar Sanusi. Thank you.
Good afternoon, yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Renosa Tosca. I'm from Indonesia, working for the Ministry of Finance. I have one question related. To the village SDGs goals in Indonesia. To achieve zero poverty, opening new jobs in villages is a crucial thing, such as new micro and small medium enterprises in the village. On the other hand, villages in Indonesia commonly have a few skilled and high educated workers. In your opinion, what kind of incentives that the government, both central government and regional government, must do to attract skilled workers, for example, from the cities to work in the village? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, Professor Pichko?
Yes.
Okay, so I think maybe shall I directly respond, or I just maybe compile all first?
Why don't you go ahead and respond to this question,
Okay.
and then we'll take
Okay.
another one.
Yes, thank you very much. I think maybe first of all, I'm very thanks to Professor Oyama Sensei. So he is one of my mentors, is the best mentor in my life. Yeah. So because he advised me since I do my master degree, and then until we do I do in my PhD. I think maybe of course. When COVID is gone soon, I will go to Japan and then meet you with my family. Yeah. But I would like to answer the first question is about the problem of maybe a school attainments. Yeah, of course. In average in Indonesia, school attainments, if I can use like parameters, is still on post-elementary school. It's still on the maybe junior high school level. So this average school attainment in Indonesia. But the situation is different from the region, and then also from if like the urban, it should be higher than the villages, and then also the people who are living in eastern part of Indonesia also still is lower compared with the western part of Indonesia, because western part of Indonesia consider is more developed than this eastern part. So that is why my previous minister's job is how to encourage the development in the area that we call it as disadvantaged regions, by providing a lot of incentive. Once is in terms of education, by providing a lot of subsidy. Subsidy can be directly for the student, or maybe giving to the school. For students, Sensei, for instance, in the case of now that we are still living on the pandemics of COVID-19, government provides such we call it as internet, internet quota, so they can still schooling from home, because during the pandemics level, we also all of the school are now is still closed until now. So we introduce like working from home and then also schooling from home. But the problem is for the people who are living on the maybe on remote area is a problem about the internet connection. So that is why government provide this subsidy, provide such funding by like giving a free for like internet quota for the student. And then also, Sensei, as also the second question is about a human resource development. This is also one of our biggest issue in Indonesia. And now, luckily, because I'm working in Ministry of Manpower, this one of my duty is providing of like training in order to enhancing the skill capacity. So because if, for instance, if I just give like the numbers. Indonesia population is 270 million people. And then our labor force is about 201 million people. Because we are now on situation, we call it as a demographic bonus. So says demographic dividend. So people now is all is composing is the youth people. So it's like the like to be a policy makers. We have to choose from many, as you are right. We have a lot of problem. We have a lot of option. So we have to choose. Maybe what the very well, what is the very I mean we have, which is maybe the very sensitive issue, and then what is that provide the greatest impact, especially for developing like improving like a skill capacity or maybe improving the economic activity. So that's why instead of course we accelerated of the education, but also we provide the people skills capacity by providing them a lot of training. Like in the Ministry of Manpower of Indonesia, now we have about 2,000 about 2,100 the training centers that owns by the people, by the society of the people, but supporting by the government. Of course, we have like that's. Of course, we have also like that's owned by the central government. The number is about 24. That's That's the situation is about the human resource development. And then the second question from my partners from Indonesia, Mr. Zamaro. Thank you very much. It is indeed, this is a big problem for Indonesia. It's about like the number of people who migrate from the village to the urban is very high. Now the villages is only 46% of total population. In other words, most of people still prefers walk in the city. They're moving to the city. So now we like providing, for instance, is village funding. Every year the village we giving the funding, but in the meantime we also giving such incentive for like for the people who want to work in the village, like then I know I saw a lot of like the youth people try to run a business by optimizing of the village capacity. That's maybe my second question. Thank you very much, Sensei, and then also Mr. Tosca.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Ms. Mami Teraoka, who is a GRIP student from Japan. Ms. Teraoka, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Chichiko, and congratulations, Dr. Sanushi, and thank you very much for today's presentations. My name is Mami, and I'm from Japan, and I had worked with the regional governments in Vietnam for supporting sustainable rural development in the last few years. And in that sense, I'd like to ask one question on leadership. When you make decisions, what are your most important core values, and how do you or your organizations communicate that core value within the organizations and outside? the organizations in order to achieve sustainable rural development target as a whole, regions and nations. And thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, the first only one question, but a very difficult question. Yeah. Yeah. I try to answer Mami Sang, yeah, Terauka Sang. That's what the core values in developing the village level. I learned much from the Japanese there. Way that you call it is. That you still can accept the external values, but you still can persist your internal values. That I forgot the terms Japanese word. I'm very interested for this one. That if we try to educate the villages, first of all, we have to understand the way of thinking of the villages. We have a long story about the village development. In the previous, we tried to use the approach that we call it as a top-down. We bring all things from the top to the villages. And then the just villages just to be the object. The object of the development. They don't have, of course, maybe they have like a space, yeah, space, but the space is very small. So in my way is please give them the space, at least the space to communicate with us, because we don't know anything. We just maybe just know it's very few things. The people who are living on the village living a very long times. They know everything what they need actually. So that's why I'm very agree the methods of the participatory in the village or in rural development. The way how to participatory in Indonesian way now is really reflected on our law that we call it the law of village, law number 6, 2014. We just give provide the funding. Of course, we provide also the facilitator and how to use the funding. But we optimize, we utilize of the local institution and how to manage the funding. And then how to define what activity that should be done in order to solve their own problem. For instance, people who are living on eastern part of Indonesia, on eastern part of Indonesia, in terms of the raining season is very few. So they need like water reservoir in order to keep their agriculture production still going on, even though on dry season. Imagine if we maybe pretend we don't know anything about the situation, and then we come from Jakarta, we come from city, and then bring all big good concept, and then we try to implement them. I believe that we cannot success. So the simple thing, try to talk with them. Try to know what actually they need. And then how to do that? You have to stay with them, not to come and go. Just you stay with them and then try to learn from them and then try to know what the habit of the way of thinking, way of the life, or maybe the culture. That's my answer. Thank you.
Our next question is from Ms. Rimjim Pandey from India. Ms. Pandey, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Professor Pechko. Thank you, Anwar Sanusi Sensei, for the enlightening presentation. I would also like this opportunity to congratulate you for the SDG award. I have one very small question. I want to know what kind of partnerships are forged with the private sector as a part of this program. Are they partnered in the formulation stage, implementation stage, or the evaluation stage? And if they are involved in more than one stage, to what extent are they a part of the program? Thank you so much.
Yeah, Thank you very much, Ms. Rimzin Pandey, Ms. Pandey. Yes, of course. Since a long time ago, our public policy theory, we introduced such the concept of private-public partnership. The question is which part we have to cooperate with them. I mean, if I look at from the part from the way in Indonesia now to implement like the village development, we try to create the private-public partnership in all part of from the planning, implementing, or maybe from evaluation. From the plannings, yeah, we define maybe the private ones is very broad meaning. We can also define as like a private sector as a company, but also maybe we have also we can also have like a broader meaning. We also like maybe like the university, or maybe it's a civil service organization. At least from the beginning, we have to be open. Because of course, like the people who are living in the villages, they know the problem, but they couldn't get like how to formulate the problem. And then sometimes, you know, that's in terms of administrative aspect, we need that's in terms of the planning should also invite all of actors in the planning process. So that's why in Indonesians in Indonesia, especially Ministry of the Villages, they issue such ministerial regulation for the planning step should involve all actors, including the private company. For the implementation, of course. Even though we also encourage the people participation, but in such a big project, sometimes if the people doing this one is less efficient. So we invite the private sector in doing, for instance, it's quite big bridge, and then also in building a road, and then also water reservoir. That's a big water reservoir, but if the small water reservoir just doing by the people themselves, we're thinking about which is more efficient, this one. And then, of course, in terms of like in evaluation also, it is also private can involve. That's also there because we need such maybe the way how to evaluate the policy. Sometimes like the problem for the community, the problem of the villagers, that is the lack of the knowledge. And then sometimes is central government, so we still need like the report. But if the people, the villages doing by themselves, it takes a long time. We need, of course, like the first question from Sensei, of course, I am very sure the way and how to accelerate that is to educate them, to train them. This is the way to empower them, but to answer the question about the private participation, in my opinion, and also based on my own observation, we need at three aspects. Thank you.
For more questions, and our next question comes from Riani Sagita. Could you please introduce yourself very briefly and ask your question? Riani Sagita.
Professor?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Petko, and congratulations, Mr. Anwar Sanusi, and also for your insightful presentation. I'm Riani Sagita from Indonesia. I come from Indonesia Financial Services Authority. I have two questions regarding the education and also transmigration project. First is you mentioned that the Indonesia government provides a quota, such as quota to improve the education during this pandemic. But as we know that we are in a archipelagical country that we have a lot of remote area. It's still a challenge for Indonesia. So, in your opinion, how to improve inclusivity to improve the education quality in this case? That's my first question. For the area that couldn't access the internet, that's my first question. The second question, Indonesia used to have transmigration program. Do you think it will effective solution to improve equality in Indonesia if it is again implemented in Indonesia? Thank you so much, Mr. Sanusi.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Riani Sakita. I think maybe this is very interesting question from you. That's and then how to develop like we know as 3T, yeah? 3T is outers and then also backwards and then also is the front area. We try to propose some intervention, government intervention. One intervention is coordinated by by providing them likes of the electricity access and then also is like the internet access. We have a cooperation with Ministry of it is my experience when I was still in Ministry of Villages. We have a cooperation with the Ministry of Infrastructure. We have the cooperation with Ministry of Communication and Information. And then we have a cooperation with Ministry of Education and Cultures. And then the object is one. The object is how to accelerate the development of the backwards or a disadvantaged region in Indonesia. Because at least there are some parameters to determine the backward or disadvantaged region. One is in terms of human resources. So by providing the data, so I think maybe we can define what the kind of mode of intervention of each ministries in order to accelerate development of disadvantaged regions. Some they might be providing, for instance, from the Ministry of Villages, we're giving the guidance that the village funding can be used to support the education activities. Education activities, I think I agree with the Professor Oyama, it's very from the low until the highest. At least how to enhance, how to improve the quality of this education. And then the second question, as you mentioned about transmigration, I think maybe for the people not from Indonesia, transmigration is very unique policy of Indonesia. Because I mentioned that almost 50% of the people living at Java Island, even though Java Island is only once per 6 of total population in Indonesia. We introduce such a transmigration. We bring the people from the populous to the less populated the regions. Yeah, in the previous, I can say this program is very effective, at least to distribute people and then to improve the quality of life of the people. But now we have to deal with many issues. One issue is about the local autonomy. The local autonomy is not so easy. For instance, not so easy. We can define such the land that can provide for the transmigrants. So we need to discuss with the original people, no, not from, and then also the sender. Also, we have to talk in how to manage this policy, because this currently policy is cannot solely done by this Ministry of the Village and Transmigration. We have to talk with the sender governments, and then also is the original, and then also is the destination of the place. This is it is Ms. Riani that I can but nowadays we just try to improve the transmigration, but not I think send again for this moment. There's no, we have like such moratorium policy for transmigration in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanusi. This brings today's award ceremony to a close. I would like to thank all of you for your interest and support, and once again congratulate Mr. Sanusi on his achievement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Pečko, and then thank you very much, President Krips, and thank you for all. Thank you all students, and then also thank you, Professor. Thank you.